Yeah, thank you. I mean, now I have minus 14 minutes because I'm standing just beside and front and between the nice part of your discussions in the evening. Thank you very much, Ahu, for inviting. Great event. I think that what I really appreciate is that we don't do that digital stuff anymore because you lose half of it. It's like a second-class ticket. Discussing with people in a physical way is totally different story. So thank you very much for putting that up, inviting us over, having some discussions. I'm not alone. I have two wonderful colleagues back there. Anne, who is responsible and executive director. Oh no, she's there. I was searching for you. Executive director for artificial intelligence. And our best colleagues here in Istanbul from MES, Hande, who is actually, there are you, supporting us in the corporations. And, as I was invited, I was thinking, what could I talk about? And I thought I'd talk about logic because, I'm an engineer and I'm actually responsible for technology and innovation in Fraunhofer. And 10 years ago, I formed a group of, let's say, the Invention Center group, which is taking care of anything which comes out of this nice, big research institutions and bring that to the industry. So what I would like to share to you today is basically maybe what are some of our findings today and what I would like to give you along. Of course, it's not a full picture. It's just some, let's say, remarks. So let's talk about logic. First of all, in Germany, we are talking a lot about VUCA world. Yeah, I don't have to teach you what VUCA is because everybody of you knows that. Yeah, brutality, and it's all a bit complex. We are not really certain in what is coming up. So we have a lot of uncertainty. On the other hand side, we have complexity of all the technology developments we have to do today. We don't really know what will be the right powertrains of the future. We don't really know, is it a combination between, let's say, new materials or maybe digital services. So it's a lot of things we have to keep in mind. So that's why we are talking about the VUCA world. So now, as some minor part of myself is also a researcher, so VUCA is actually from the 80s. In the 80s, it was actually used as the Soviet Union actually dropped down, fall down. They used it as a pattern to describe the situation at that time. So, and taking you a little back to that time, I just focus on the mobility topics here. That was the time as, those guys were in our TVs. Everybody of us wanted to have this car, especially in Germany. Germans like cars, as you know. And the thing is, we can talk to the car, and the car talks even back. So that's phenomenal. So that's why we love this series here. And of course, we loved David Hasselhoff because he also put out a great song, Freedom. He was singing as we reunited. We were part of the Airwolf team. We were part of this Street Hawk team, having this great new mobility topics. And of course, we had all those cool people here who already applied, what is very usual to us today, that we have a mobile phone, even if we shouldn't use it while driving, we do it, of course, yeah. But those guys already had those mobile phones in a different way. And we were actually looking at Martin McCloud, you can remember, Back to the Future, where the flux generator was our next big thing in having an alternative drive system for the future. And by the way, just as a side mark, maybe for the discussion in the evening, some of those things happened, like the fax machines and things which we could see there, the hoverboards, and even the CGI dead celebrities and things like that. All those things have happened already, and some of them are about to come. So surprisingly, there's a lot of things which have been seen in that video, in that film, have actually overwhelmed us and really took us along. That were the 80s. So my question is, VUCA as an explanation from the past, can that be the patterns for the future? And I say no. I don't think that even if we think today we have energy crisis, we talk a lot about new topics, politicians and whatsoever. We have a lot of negative feelings in very different fields, especially for innovation. This is not a good situation. So I don't think that we can take the same thing just 30 years ago and just project it to today. and look into the future. And that's why I suggest a new VUCA, which I would like to discuss with you. One thing is I would transform the vitality topic to vision. I think what we need, especially if it comes down to innovation, is a very clear picture of the future. And now let me, because I don't want to bore you with vision and strategy and things like that, but I want to explain you why is it so important for the mobility topic. Because a lot of those innovators we have seen today, we see every time, they always have one part, they are one part of the story. And the big picture is missing, in my understanding. There are a lot of big pictures, as Ms. O'Mara, right? Great name. Was just pointing out with the studies, I think we should really follow on that. I think the point is here, we need to understand that it is a big picture we have to follow, because nobody of us can take the whole thing. You know, we're developing different cars, we are developing different bikes or whatever. We have services, digital services we are developing, and it's a lot which goes into that pictures. And I think we have to think in this vision of the future to also stabilize and find our own way in the future. So that's why this, what you can see here is the intermodal drive system. We also defined together with one of our partners, which is EGO. And we see that the future of mobility is not just, let's say, focusing on one part of the story. I love Turkey and I love the CIMIT. I had the CIMIT in this morning, yeah, on the Asian side. Then Hande, my colleague from Next, actually picked us up and we had to drive here. So there are still unmet needs of mobility, I can tell you. Because if you're stuck in the traffic jam here, you know that better than me, I guess, every day, 2 hours or whatsoever, then you have the challenge, you have a need which is not met. And exactly there, I think we can work on. So the future will not only be a car which is different, with a different drivetrain. Of course, it will be also other business models, how we can actually use them. Yeah, shared mobility, you already know that exactly on different spots, but we combine different mobility services, mobility drivetrains with each other. So I think that we have to also look at the infrastructure. If you go into urban mobility, you were talking about that already a little. I think that it is not only the solution of producing new cars, it is always the solution of getting a pocket lot. So you always need the infrastructure. Yeah, just as an example, you need an infrastructure where you can use the car, and you need an, let's say, seamless combination to make it happen that you can go from your car to the train, to the bike, and whatsoever. And I think this big picture is missing. So now let me give you my picture on it. I don't go too much in the numbers. If you're interested, we can do it. You know, there's a lot of talk about what is the right decision. Should we go for electrical vehicles? Should we go for alternative fuel topics? Should we go for synthetic fuels, hydrogen, and so on? And there's a lot of rumors about that. But from a technical point of view, there's a very simple answer in it. Use batteries wherever you can. And if you go over 250 to 300 kilometers at the moment, you have to attach a range extender, which is actually charging the smaller battery. So the more battery you put in your car, the more weight you have, and there's a certain threshold today which makes it efficient or not. So our picture of the future should also be that we look at all the different technologies, and this is just a picture for right now. Yeah, maybe in 10 years this picture looks totally different. So, but we should do logic decisions. And I think this discussion should be technology open. And what we see at the moment from a, let's say, efficiency point of view, we call it in German Wirkungsgrad, which is the impact. The battery electric until 250 kilometers is exactly the right thing we can have to do. And combine that, if you go over that with a fuel cell, then you even come to 450 or more kilometers, and you only need, you said you save, you can extend the range, but you can also save time because you don't have to wait 3 minutes, full fuel is filled. So we did that with this car here. It is a bus. In Aachen, we have around 260 institutes. actually working on very different fields from mechanics, materials, fuel cell, and whatsoever. You are all invited to Aachen if you want to come. I heard that you are coming in the next month or something. Come over, we'll organize a visit. So this car here goes to let's say, to a complementary use to public transportation. Today you have the buses. Of course, those buses are not very individualized. Yeah, those buses go whenever the time scale is there and whatever the timetable says. So that's why we started this car here for 7 people, very much connected, seamless, connected to the mobility services. It integrates actually a 70 kilowatt battery, and we have a new drive system which actually has a range extender that another 30 kilowatt is included in that, so that you can actually have the fuel cell is all time running, yeah, like a base heat treatment, and maybe from your construction, and this is always charging the battery. So, and this actually leads to a smaller battery, and you have actually a optimal system which is running whole time. Yeah, you don't have a very complex fuel cell which is covering different performances. It's always on one performance and charging the battery. And we brought this here in the car with all the entertainment topics you would like for the future. So this is visionary. I think we should have a clear picture. What is the puzzle we want to take in the future? We should be clear about that. That could be cooperate with startups, with universities, and also with other partners, that we can be part of the picture. We cannot drive the picture alone. Second thing, which was actually used as uncertainty, I would transform that to user priorities. We are living in a great time because a lot of things change. And if a lot of things change, of course, you can always see it from a negative side and say, oh, all is changing and we have so much trouble, we have so much challenges. No, but it's also changing the user priorities, and it's creating opportunities, because all the classical things which we have there, they don't maybe fit to that what we want in the future. So that's exactly the point where we are living right now. And it's a perfect point in reevaluating that customer needs, understanding what exactly those customers want. I mean, I could do that customer journey analysis right here from the Simit store to your event. I would have plenty of opportunities to tell you where we could have attached some innovations. So what I would like to give you along again, don't just follow sayings from outside. Yeah? Don't follow statements which somebody says outside the world. Yeah? Find your own logic. What is logic from a customer point of view? What is this customer journey? And there you will find a lot of opportunities. And today we have a lot of changes, and those priorities which were there 2 years ago, yeah? Just remember, 2 years ago we were discussing in Germany whether we have a new trend for hygiene cars, which means shared economy is over because nobody wants to share economy in a corona world. Yeah, on the other hand side, we have basically, let's say, air filters which are able to filter out corona or whatsoever. Yeah. So today nobody talks about it anymore. Yeah. So point here is identify those customer needs and try to bring that in the project, which makes sense. And yeah. And the car we produced here is our idea behind that was, it's the Ego. It's a small 2-seat vehicle we actually homogenized in Germany, which is, by the way, the only car in Germany beside the OEMs which we were able to bring into the European Union and also in the homogenization. It's a small battery car at the moment. It covers just 110 kilometers. It costs 15,000 euros, and it is also used as in a subscription model to have a low entry access, also for having it as a second car. Why I'm telling you this? I'm telling you, most of the time, if you look at the cost side of electrical cars, you easily come above 40,000 euros plus. Yeah, if you talk about the Tesla, for example, you pay 70,000 plus, and this is not a mass car. Not everybody of us can afford such a car. And that's why we thought it's it's very essential that we have an affordable car which is focused on a use case. And if you do user priority analysis in urban mobility, you easily, maybe you just think about yourself, how much kilometer you would drive a day? Who would say, who is driving more than 30 kilometers a day? How much do you drive? More than 30? How much do you drive? 100, okay. 100 kilometers a day, okay. In most of the cases, it's the essential answer is, I don't drive really more than 30 kilometers. Yeah, and for the most of the purchases we do, we buy cars for the 2% of the usage, which means for the 600 kilometers, we drive 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to give you along. Try to understand what are the user priorities, and those concepts need to follow those customer journeys. Yeah, what exactly do you need? And you know, if you just buy a car which can go up to 100 kilometers, you could maybe cover 98% of your usage. Yeah, and we don't have. If you look at the utilization of your cars, you have a single-digit utilization. So it stands there, it waits for you, it is not really used. So the point here is, try to understand how this mobility concept would work in the future and how you can connect to that. Because if you can offer a car, or let's say an ecosystem like this one here, which gives you the 98% or the 95%, and you have a mobility service for the last 5%, it is fine. And I think everybody will actually work behind that. So, as a showcase as well, yeah, exactly. So this is exactly good for a supplier. That's why we actually, but this is a different part of the story. In the Aachen ecosystem, we started in 2008, 2009, we started a big campus initiative where we brought together startups and let's say huge companies and also first-tier suppliers. And then we said, work together, you know, but they don't. So you needed to put some of the lighthouse projects in place, like flagship programs, where they are forced to work together somehow, yeah. And one of those projects was, I show you here in the next step. One of those projects is the street scooter, which was, let's say, a car we produced and sold to the German Post. Post is the delivery system in Germany. Of course, you know here DHL as well. And the challenge there was they wanted to have a differentiation opportunity against Amazon and the big players. And so that's why we produced a customized electrical vehicle for them, where they can just cover something about 60 kilometers, but over 500 stops a day, you know, because they stop and go and stop and go. And this is actually killing your combustion engine and all the periphery. So that's why we put that in place to make the universities work with the startups, with the large organizations, and follow that behind. And of course, it's a great opportunity also to use it as a living lab, yeah, to bring in things which you want to test. And of course, they will use it because they want to have fast success and in the homogenization. You don't want to do the certification for all of your parts, of course. So let me just finish the topic here. So user priorities, I think it's clear that we should understand the customer journey, have a logic case where we want to be part of the picture. We shouldn't only think about the usage, but also about the production and the supply chain. Yeah, if you talk about net zero, you have to obviously also talk about how we can understand where we actually have different CO2, let's say, waste in our supply chains, and how we can utilize like PV or any other technologies to be CO2 neutral on that. What we actually put out here, maybe we have the chance to meet and talk about that, is we have something like micro factories. They only cover up to 10,000 pieces cars per year, but they are very much optimized on one ideal point. And we are trying to integrate different new energy sources to basically have a CO2 neutrality. Yeah, so the idea behind this is we have to match the customer requirements with the solutions. Yeah, and that's what we have to keep in mind. So the U stands for user priorities. C, which is actually complexity, in our understanding is cooperation. You cannot do anything on your own. And we always see that in large organizations that the point here, and that's why I really love that you organized that here, this exchange, we have to make sure that we also cooperate on a broad scale and we find our own core competences. Especially large organizations tend to cover anything and everything by themselves. And this is a big challenge because this really creates a monstrum of very different technologies you have to actually go behind. Even in a large company like Koch, for example, it is not possible to cover all that. So you need to focus on core competences and work together with different partners. Here we had 70 partners on board who are actually covering anything. And the first 3 months we were just driving with the postman, right? So we were sitting beside them and understanding when they hit the car behind them, on what part of the rear bumper they hit the car, to understand how we can exchange it in a fast way. And just as a story, it turned out that the opening mechanism of the door had to be, you had to pay around 140, 150 euros to exchange it. So we just changed that part of the car that just costs €9 right now today. Yeah, and we don't have a heat system included in that because we are using an electrical heat system and so on and so on. That's exactly customized to the usage of that postman and to this customer journey. Right now we have around 16,000 cars in Germany, which are actually in place. Some of, if you have been to Germany, next time if you look to Germany and you come over and you see those nice yellow cars, you can remember on my presentation today, this is from us. Okay, and the last point, which is ambiguity in the VUCA world, we would transform that to agility. And you know what I learned in my time here in Turkey is that Turkish people are very agile. You are the most agile people on this earth, I would say. And that's why I really love you, because in Germany, sometimes it takes very much time to push the people sometimes in a certain direction. And here everybody is totally enlightened if something goes on, and then you have to find a systematic way how do you manage that later on. Yeah. What does it mean, agility? Agility means being dynamic and flexible enough to change your vision and your perspective. And, you know, I said and stated very clearly, the best opportunity you have right now in the drive system is to focus on a battery electrical car, right? Until a certain range, until a certain size. But I don't know if I'm maybe wrong in 5 or 10 years from now. If you start the developing right now, it might change something in the next years. So you need to take the opportunity also to be flexible enough on that. So here is an example for another car we just released a month ago, which is the Space. It's the Evolution Space. It has actually exchangeable battery, which is the first 5 years used in the car. And after the 5 years, it goes into the construction industry to be used 20 years as the storage for the PV, yeah, for photovoltaic systems. And we have also let's say, smaller battery, which covers until 300 kilometers. And from there, the range extender with 50 kilowatt can take over, and you can reach 450 kilometers. And you only need 3 minutes to actually charge it. So point is, I don't know if this will be a successful case. Yeah, this is at the moment a customer need we are trying to address. 450 kilometers. The most of the time you will drive with the electrical battery. Yeah, with the battery, and for just some of your let's say routes, you're using the fuel cell. And of course, the car has it is called Space because it has a unique space in the same, let's say, dimensions as the normal cars. And we are just starting this right now, also having a micro factory behind that. But we don't know yet what it will change in that system. So we have to have the agility to always reinvent ourselves and basically go with the market. And that's what I want to give you along. Don't think in VUCA world from the 80s. See it in a more positive way, you know. Always I say that in Germany because Germans tend a little bit to be very negative. Yeah, we complain all the time, this is not working and there is not working. Then I tell them about your inflation rate and combine that to ours. And then you see what's the difference. So what I want to give you along is let's look positive in the future. And as the ex-president said, once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. Let's just take this along and go positive in the future, even if there are a lot of challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much again. Do we have any questions from the audience? No? Okay. I have some questions, but we are already late in the schedule, and we still have one panel. So, but as Fark Labs, we have already made the Aachen visit plan. So you will be in our road as well. So we will meet in Aachen as well.
Happy to meet you there. Yes.
Important that you are in Turkey, you're working with MEXT. So what is Fraunhofer's goal for Turkey and your collaboration frame with MEXT, and how can us take part of it?
Thank you for the question. I think, first of all, I want to emphasize the great work of MES, putting up MEXT. Also, your personal friend, Effe, is actually putting a lot of work in that, and the team is really great, doing great stuff. We decided to work together with MEXT in a way to set up the demonstration factory there to showcase how Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence can work. You know, everybody talks about those nice technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics, whatsoever in the supply chains, but you know, it just stays a nice thing in a museum if you don't get it in a value-added perspective and you produce something. And that was the idea we also had with Mr. Akol in the very beginning, that we want to have a training, a showcase center, and also a center where startups can try and error, yeah? Which is very essential, that we have a playground for them. Because most of the startups in the production and in the supply chain area, they have a big challenge because they don't have the assets to test. And that's why MES has a very good vision on that, set up MEXT in making sure that startups can actually test it, that they can be trained, and that actually we can also help and support in doing the implementation. So now coming back to your question, what we want to do here, we have been putting up that demonstration factory because we like the idea and having some place there where we can do all the trainings, we can do all the implementations. And of course, we have also a lot of technology experts we want to bring here and also combine that with different people who are working in a startup way or even with the large corporations to go into the implementation. And we have also a venture arm we put here right now with the Invention Center, where we actually support also the company building from, let's say, the TRL 5 or 6, which comes out of Fraunhofer, boosting that together with JVs or even with own startups to up to 8 or 9 and putting them back to our customers. So I think for the community here, especially for your event tomorrow, it's a worth, maybe, may I say that, Hande, that everybody is also invited to come over to MEXT, right, and see how you can utilize that great stuff there. And I can admit we have locations in Germany, also in China, and this is one really, really forward-thinking, let's say, asset and application area which you can use.
Thank you.
And I like CIMIT.
Yes.
As well,
actually, it should have been also at the end of your customer
yeah, it should,
journey,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you very much again.